live? Let's find out. Let me press the buttons that I need to do here, my channel, and then live, and then for you. And it looks like I am present, and volume is good. Looks like I am present, and volume is good. Looks like I am. Yeah, okay. Volume sounds good. All right, let's drop back down so I don't have to get in the way of myself. I'm gonna grab the link and do some social posting. I'll give you my intro here real quick, and then we'll get to work. So, almost there. Stay on target. Pop, and one more here. Pop, and now I can start kicking through. Okay, cool. Hey, my name's Phil Kearney. What's up? I create role-playing games. I illustrate them, and then I publish them online. And we're creating an adventure for the Eberron campaign setting in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. I've been DMing since 1987. I've been using Eberron as my world of preference since, I think, around 2005. And I have been freelance illustrator since 1999 and creating content on DMsGuild since 2017. But this is the first adventure that I've published, so I'm pretty excited about that. I'm on the X Twitter platform. If you're there as well, I'm at Phil Kearney. I post coupons, works in progress, when I go live, etc. You can follow me there to keep up with what I got going on. And then here on YouTube, like, subscribe, bell icon for notifications of when we are live in the future. Here's our full playlist, all 343 episodes here. Here's a slew of books that I've already created on DMsGuild with free previews that I would invite you to explore. If you think they're cool, considering picking some up. A lot of them come with like tokens, playmats, maps, and other game assets that you can use alongside with whatever it is that you got going on. This is the book cover. We created this around episode 40, Crystals of Babar, and I think the lettering, we were doing lettering like around episode 240. So we're working on page 3 right now of the adventure. There's 3 factions. Oops, wait, I want to make that come back. So when we last left off, I was unhappy that I had factions and then like the single line of factions going across here, and then the Emerald Claw was underneath it, but the Emerald Claw emblem was above the factions. That didn't set right with me, so I just decided to push the factions text into 2 lines to create this little space in here. And if I have this sitting here, the space between the Red Wolf emblem and the villagers here. Oops, I'm going to do that again. Oops, I'm using a mouse. Why am I using my mouse? Get back to your pen, Kearney. Work with the tools that you have, son. There's that. And that is roughly the same distance. So that should be sitting pretty, but I could do some filigree or framing over here. I'm not sure how I'm going to resolve all that, but that's technically not what I need to worry about this instance. So I'm going to just get back into doing this flamey stuff. That's not bad, because the amount of space between here, the edge, this gap here, is about the same as the gap here, a little bit less. So, yeah, push that over a smidge. This one goes out to the edge, and that's fine, but I like the framing here. This space, and this space are the same space. Maybe I can nudge over the wolf just a smidge. That feels right. And then we'll have to rework the background haze, and we'll do something with it. But I think I need to establish the actual color patterns for all these things first before I proceed there. So just doing a general block in. Yeah, that's about right. I do need to clean up the edges here. So I'm gonna pull this in a bit, and then let's get back into working this. That's pretty good. There. I'm just going to clean up this line just to make it look a little more cleaner. I know Ked would bark at me that I should be using vector for this, but I like acquiring the skill of doing this in raster. It allows me more mastery of my craft. Raster mastery. Raster master rules Photoshop. I want to make this a little sharper. There we go. I don't want that to fan out. It's a drop. I don't want it to. I don't want it to taper in like that though. I like it. I'm fine with it tapering off here at the edge, but along the way, it's not a gentle slope. It's your arm, right? It's a flame. So can you see me leaning in like that? It means that I am not zooming in enough and I am tired. I lean in when I'm tired, and when I lean in, I don't zoom, so I end up just crooking my neck and giving myself computer hump. Just grinding that smooth. And I might taper this off, but I want to at least make it look like it's intact. There. So far, so good. Good. That's too much of an edge. That's not enough of a flame. There we go. There we go. So we're going to be working on the spell point sorcerers for the color mana spell point variant rules today at lunch. That's going to be at 1:30 here in Seattle, which will be 4:30 out on the East Coast or whatever. And And so, yeah. And then this weekend, we'll be working on, I think we'll be working on Wizards and Warlocks. And we'll probably be looking at the gold XP system for 5e. I don't know. I'm going to spend a little time doing some research, I think, tonight to look at has anyone done a successful conversion of Beckby XP into 5e? Because the math on money doesn't line up in 3e, and I know it wasn't even a consideration in 4e. And as far as I can tell right now, the amount of gold that you get in random encounters in 5e or with creature XP, like the creature XP does not balance with the gold that you get at all. So when you destroy gold to create experience points, obviously you're going to have to ramp up the amount of gold and treasure that is being distributed inside of an adventure significantly, because it's either you're getting gold for gear or you're getting gold or you're burning the gold for experience points. And when you have like a guild or a shop or a bastion or something like that that generates wealth, that wealth doesn't convert into experience points for your character. It's just wealth to spend on stuff. So having an operation that generates wealth for you is not a means of generating experience points. The experience points comes from risking your life for the treasure, and it's not unusual to see tapering off of characters of NPCs gaining. You're like, why aren't they gaining experience? Why is this Keen only first level? It's because he's never had to risk anything in his life. His entire life, he's never had to risk anything. He's the fucking heir to the kingdom. So, hey, Hornetico, it's good to see you, my guy. Green Hand, it's the Emerald Claw, actually. So, yeah, appropriately green-handed. How you doing, Hornetico? Man, it's good to see you. Bring this around like that. There. But yeah, so if I'm successful, I'll be able to start running so I'm doing a mega dungeon for the Martial Powers playtesting. We're going to be starting at 3rd level in I want to say probably the 11th of November is what I'm guessing, but it could be the 9th. And I want to run it as a mega dungeon, and I want it to be old Beckme style, where you only get experience points for the gold that you haul out of the dungeon. And I'm using Dungeons Randomizer, which I posted in my Discord. And so the narrative here is treasure maps. So your characters inherit or find a treasure map. So you go explore it and you find this dungeon with monsters and treasure in it. And if I can pace it out right, I'll be able to have in that dungeon enough gold for like 4 characters to be able to basically, like, if I have 150% of the amount of gold that is needed to gain a level, then that means that you'll be able to burn the gold for XP and keep half that amount as pocket for you to buy magic gear and shit like that. And since the experience points is decoupled from the monsters, then I can have as many monsters as I want in the dungeon to challenge the characters as a playtest for the Martial Powers project. So we're not tying experience points to the monsters, we're tying the experience points to the amount of treasure that you extract after killing or bamboozling the monsters or whatever. Now, Beckme is notorious about non-combat solutions. But that was because Beckme was so lethal. It wasn't that I can bamboozle this monster out of the treasure and then get experience points for it. Yeah, that's a real great roguish type activity to do, and it's openly celebrated. But that's not like defeating the monster. Like, monsters are a threat. In Beckme, when your characters are so fragile, combat you've already failed if you're in combat, because the chances of your character dying are high. But in 5e heroic fantasy, your characters are so strong that it's unlikely that they're just going to be casually killed. So you can afford to remain, if your team wants to be combat focused, that becomes fun, not dangerous, which is kind of the point of the whole system that we're building here is make combat more fun. So we should have more combat. And of course, all the skill boosts and other resources that your character gets access to through the powers that you can prepare to be able to engage in a dungeon environment, like the trap springer and the empowered skills, and the instant skill effects and the auto attunement abilities that your character can have. There's a lot of the exploration style of powers that we have in the system really lend themselves to dungeon exploration, which is great. This is what the game's roots are in. So yeah, it has been a while. How's that? You were playing a card game where you basically created your own theme around it, and you were painting cards. Is that something you're still sticking with, or was that just something you were exploring for a little while and you moved on to something else at this point? And how's the animation coming along? There. Taper more. It's a flame fill. There you go. Vector would certainly be easier, but I wouldn't feel as successful. Hey, what's up? Okay, so you've been tinkering. Good. Fair enough. Oh, right on. I mean, it was good stuff, man. That's a good place for you to play. Finally figured out how to fix the rigging, so that's nice. Congratulations, man. Glad to hear it. I'll bring that like this. That feels good. And here, there. So I'm waiting. I don't have early access to the DMG, but once it becomes available, I'm going to spend a little time just re-looking at Bastion. Although, like JD and Nerd Immersion has certainly done a good job covering the Bastions in general, I just want to make sure I have eyes on it so I can see the tables and the balance with more casual time. But once I do, team right now. And we've simplified it a lot, trying to make it less crunchy because it was overly crunchy. It was too crunchy, too techy, like Hackmaster level of techiness, which is too much. So I need to simplify it and make it more universal in application for like when you're using different industries to make ability checks. I need to like universalize it. And one of the things that I'm noticing in my current campaign is that limiting your guild's stats to only 4 stats instead of 6 kind of helps keep the scope of what you can do. Like it's like my team is already like we're at capacity on thinking like all the things that we can do with our guild. We need less options to help corral us instead of more. So I think when I build it, I'll like have the like base frame and then a toolkit on building or like defining your own industries and how to affect the genre of game that you're playing in based on what sort of industries you emphasize in your guild. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't feel like I'm ready to leave the safe harbor of the Dungeon Masters of DMsGuild to start producing stuff, but this is the kind of this Bastion project, this Guilds and Kingdoms project is the kind of thing that it feels like it should be a broader release than just DMsGuild. Because you can use it literally with any D20 game. Like you can use it with Masterminds. You can use it with Pathfinder 1 and 2. You can use it with any edition of D&D. You can use it with Cypher system. So it feels just it's the scope of application of the system that we've been playing with. It doesn't feel right being a D&D thing. Although it was built out of the guilds and the guilds of Ravnica as well as Adam Hancock's Balrog's Guide to Kingdom Building, which are also DMsGuild stuff. I just feel like it's evolved past that at this point. I can just make a PDF and then do a Kickstarter to expand on it later. That's not a horrible route. So. Huh. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. There we go. Okay. Well, I guess it's back. That's my buffer. Looks like I'm doing okay. All right. Yeah. My internet's been unstable around here recently. I don't know what that's about. Yeah. My internet's been unstable. Maybe it's solar flares. Let's blame solar flares. The radiance of God is frying my circuitry. Yeah, that sits nicely. There's our reference for the emblem. But I think I'm pretty content with this. Of course, I say that and I find a reason to pick at it a little bit more. This really is a vector. Of everything I've ever done, this is probably the most vector worthy. But yet I will rasterize it. Raster forever. Raster Blaster rules Photoshop. Yeah, okay. So now I can go back to here. I'm just gonna pixels forever. When I see something I don't like. We fick it. Skin tag. What's up? Want to see how the entry point access? I've been wanting to run one of the starter sets of Adventures Dragon. Okay. Because these I do custom stuff. I want to see how the entry point. Yeah, right on, man. That sounds really wise. I know that Zipperon is a big enthusiast of. I'm sorry, Bob Worldbuilder. He's a big starter box set enthusiast. So yeah, tomorrow morning's stream, we're going to be spending time on gold to XP ratios inside of a mega dungeon for the Martial Powers project, and if we have time, we'll then get into probably Spellpoint Wizards, because we've already done Spellpoint Warlocks in the Martial Powers project, so we should update the Wizard next. And if we're successful with that, that means that probably on Monday we'll start going through the full caster subclasses and see if there's anything that we need to do involving mana to get them up to speed. Because we're going to restructure and revise the color mana system that I have on the DMsGuild to comply with the 2024 rules. We'll wind back the color spell list conversion, and just restructure everything and spend a little bit more time on the artwork, because some of it's looking pretty shabby at this point. So I think it'll be fun to invest a little bit of time like this once that becomes my primary project, to just kind of glam up some of the art that honestly feels pretty rushed. So this will probably publish in February, maybe March of 2025, and as opposed to 26 or 27. We're like maybe 4 months out from this publishing. That's the hope. And once this rolls off of the workbench, then the only projects I have at that point. Well, shit, I got so many fucking projects. The three genres of projects that I have is guilds, kingdoms, and armies. The color mana system that we're revising for 2024, and then expanding on Spelljammer stuff. The Mecha Kaiju book. The Spelljammer Subclasses book, finally finish up the Vocath Fleet Battle, and then start building out like Illithid, Neogi, Dro, to get them all their the full ensemble of Elven fleet ships. Get the Swagan in space, Aboleth. And we'll the Mecha Kaiju book. I think I'm going to run a playtest campaign using Storm King's Thunder to make that campaign work. Although I've been thinking about it, you could potentially make Storm King's Thunder work with Descent into Avernus. Having the floating castle be a counterpoint to Zerial's flying blade, and the two of you would be racing against Zerial's resources to accumulate allies to see if you could recover Elturel before Zerial claims it, before the demons overrun it. I keep going back to Descent into Avernus. I know there's something, like, if I had infinite time, I would so just build that out into a Spelljammer campaign. But yeah, Spelljammer, color mana, and Armies, Guilds, and Kingdoms. Those are the three major projects that I'll have after I finish this one. And that'll probably keep me occupied probably until June 2026. like all of those books, rolling out one at a time, whenever's. And at that point, with God's grace, I'll have enough momentum accumulated for me to be able to start launching Kickstarters, dive into these ideas a little bit further. What's up? How in Dark Matter? Yeah. The Guilds and Kingdoms stuff. Jesus, has it been 3 years? It's very possible. It's very, very possible. This, God, I think I started. I think I first conceptualized this adventure that we're looking at probably back in 21. You're probably right. Let's go look. The trash folder won't lie. 2/25/2021. Jesus. Oh no, that was actually here. Nightwood. Plague of Nightwood. That's what we originally called it, the Plague of Nightwood. That's so funny. Oh wow, Jesus, yeah. January 2021. That's when we were first conceptualizing this shit. Project Mapar Death Lab. Plague Wind was one of the names at one point. Yeah, we were playing with this a lot. Yeah, Jesus Christ. We've been at this for way too long. Oh, well, at least it's the journey and not the destination I seem to care about, because that's fucking ridiculous. I guess I'm still doing better than some Kickstarters. So, I mean, hey, you know, at least I get shit done. Yeah, really long tail I got on these things, huh? Oh, well. Another really good reason why to make playtest content available to people that are supporting, because it takes a really long time for me to be able to build these things, but all the mechanics are there, like for all the different game stuff that I've been doing online. That's it's all there. Very true. Yeah. Dark Matter. It's they were. I found out about Dark Matter after I had finished almost all of the Spelljammer document, and yeah, it was neat to see them. I think Mage Hand Press has a 500-foot scale. But it was a shame that they weren't able to figure out the transition from 5 feet to 500 with the 50-foot scale, because that's where your fighter craft are at. You know, like an X-wing is 45 feet long, a TIE fighter is 35 feet wide. So it's like those they're like it was there. You just had to really, like, Ukulele Bard and I spent probably 2 months fucking around with the math to be able to make that work at the scale of 5 to 50 to 500 feet. That was really, really good work. But it certainly took a while, and you have to really, like, when you're doing deep mechanical dives and expanding the scope or the mechanics of a game engine, it really does take time to iron out all the wrinkles and make it run smoothly, especially if you want to duplicate the game engine just in different ways, which was what we did, was have 5e combat at the 50 and 500 foot scale effectively. And it's most people aren't. I mean, I'll say this as a flex. Most people aren't willing to invest the amount of time it takes to make something abstract like that rock solid. And that is not a diss on anybody, because most people don't need don't require that level of depth of exploration or mechanical what am I trying to say? Like, most people don't have to go to that depth to feel satisfied with the project to be able to release it and to get on to something else. I hyper fixate on this stuff because I really want to make sure bases are covered. Like, if someone's going to invest in my shit, I want to make sure that it is going to be like, it's a legitimate investment in making your games better. Like, it's something that you are going to want to reference. It is something that will eventually be something that you want to use. And so I want to be able to provide all the answers that you finally come looking for once you find problems. That's really what I do is like I find all the little nuances and the niches and like stumbling blocks. Like, how's this really going to play out, and be able to actually know what those answers are and be able to provide basic, like very simple direction on how to continue to resolve those kind of problems. And speaking ambiguously, but there's ridiculous amounts of examples. Like the current concern in 5e is like how broken conjure animals and like the wizard's mantle of majesty or whatever it is, and spirit guardians. All three of those spells is that AOE AOE ongoing damage per round for creatures that are inside or enter the space. They're all concentration effects, and the general consensus from the community is that shit's broken as fuck because it scales like crazy. But if you use something like scaling concentration that I have in the mana system, and attrition, to where every time you have to make a saving throw, you measure your saving throw against your concentration, those spells become super fucking fragile. Like a cleric that's rocking Spirit Guardians at 4th level. Is that a 4th level or is it 3rd level? I think Spirit Guardians is 3rd level, and the Conjure Animals or whatever, the Druid equivalent, I think is 4th level. But it's 10 plus your level is the DC of your concentration. And you check it every time you make a saving throw. So you have 6 stats, not all of them are going to be good. And at, like, say, 7th level, if you've got one of these spells rolling, dealing AoE damage, and as just part of your routine as a DM is to have creatures that are going to ding you for saving throws, even like Acid Spray, for example. It's just a stupid little cantrip spell that does like D6 damage, but you save for half. And so if your cleric gets hit with a dump stat saving throw, they're going to lose their 4th level spell, which sounds like it sucks. But when you're using spell points, you can cast it over and over again because it's just a pile of mana to dump. So the problem with overpowered spells is that they're unbalanced. The way to balance it is to make them fragile. The way to counteract fragility is frequency. So you don't mind that you lost your spell because you can just cast it again because you have the supply to do that. So there's a fun dynamic where you're constantly taxing and challenging your casters the heavier spell carrying that they do. So you can't just upcast to 7th level and just do a shitload of damage, because now your saving throw DC for every saving throw you make is 17, or you lose your spell. And there goes your 7th level spell. Like, the first round, all I'm going to do is I'm going to send out a little shit produce flame spell, just to shit test your wizard, you know? Like, just to shit test your wizards. Like, what are you carrying on you right now? And then blip and ding you. It's like, oh, looks like you just lost 8 mana worth of buffs. How about you go into this fight raw now? It just became a lot tougher for your spellcasters to throw their weight around because they're constantly having to worry about, am I in a position that's going to get me dinged? What do I need to guard and protect not myself, because 5e characters are indestructible, but to protect my mana resources. We're not going to win this fight easily if all I'm doing is trying to recast buffs or launch cantrips. Now I need my marshals to actually protect me from being harassed. So it's like interpose, like the interpose reaction. Like if you're flanking a spellcasting ally, if they take damage, you can take as much of it as you want and become resistant to it. So like if there's like a 40 hit point thing coming in, and it dings your wizard, and your fighter's capable of soaking 20 damage for that, Now it's just half the. Now it's just half that just reduces the damage down to something that the wizard can actually manage, even though they could still lose their spell. Like that protector dynamic of the marshals is even more important when you have an attrition system. I call it attrition. When you have an attrition system like this in your concentration, it makes your full casters completely reliant on your marshals again, like it used to be, and it feels fucking good. Because if you can successfully attack a character's resources, it doesn't matter what level they are, because they're always at risk of not having resources, or having the buff that they need, or having the protection that they want. It's always at risk. So they have to really consider what are they sticking their nose in, because they might not have they might just not have the buffering there to protect themselves, and it can become a lot more risky. Which is why I want to update it for 2024 so much. Like, most people aren't going to bother updating their stuff for 2024, but like I build these tools. Like, I really feel like if people integrate these tools into their game, they're going to have a better game. So I'm willing to put the work and the sweat and the brain power behind it to make sure it is there to improve your game, if it's a flavor that you like. Anyway, I'm rambling really hard, don't mind me. Mega is simply multiplying normal scale by, yeah, that's right. Yeah. And the scale is off. So they're doing too much damage. But I mean, it's what's it called? Yeah, dark matter. Thank you. Dark matter isn't meant to scale from characters to ships, because it's sci-fi. So it's like mega carriers and like titanium frames and depleted uranium and shit like that. It dealing times 100 damage makes a lot of sense. I mean, we have times 100 damage when we have fleets that are occupying spaces larger than 500 foot squares. So like a fleet of like 30 ships occupying a 3x3 space at the 500 foot scale is going to do like D8 times 100 damage when they launch a volley at somebody. But we can also, because when you're talking about like science fiction carrier ships, you're talking about things that are like miles in size potentially, which would scale us up to like the times 1,000 damage. Like if you had a Warhammer dreadnought carrier ship, the kinds that like go in orbit and then just bomb the planet. Like those things could with the scale, like they're miles in scale, and they have huge barrages. So we could easily do like 60-10 times 1,000 damage for a 2-mile ship. It's like the damage scales up there, but at the same time we can ratchet that all the way down to a 50-foot fighter craft, dealing D6 times 10 damage per round. So you can smoothly transition. I mean, you know this. You fucked around with my Spelljammer stuff. You know what I'm talking about. But like, you really have to spend time with the 5e game system to be able to parse that stuff out. So I certainly respect what Mage Hand did with Dark Matter. It's just like it's a half step. It was a good start, but they can go further. And I don't mean that as a dig or as a flex or anything. It's just I had the same ideas they had, but I was willing to invest in it a year longer to make it work. so like, it's really fucking rock solid because of the amount of time that we spent in mathing it out and covering all of the caveats and making it work with D&D as written, and to do the play testing to make sure that it actually played out the way that it's supposed to. It's like, the more time you invest in R&D, the stronger your product becomes. Even if somebody else has a similar idea, if you dive further or expand the scope to overlap and expand beyond what they had done, you can stand on your own. Even if somebody else has a similar idea, it's like, well, how are they applying it? How many fucking Monster Harvest books are there now? like 12 different companies have made 5e harvest supplements. They keep doing it because everyone has like a little bit of a different angle at it. Even if at the surface level it seems same, some people are balancing it differently. And so, I mean, I have a harvesting system for magic items and creatures too, but I look at it from a mana perspective as opposed to like I can only use this to build gear. Like you can claim Ethereum and convert it either into mana crystals, spell power, spell research, or in developing items. Or enchantments. Like enchantments are a thing as opposed to just items. But if you're using a universal mana system that works across all 13 classes with the same resource and the same ratio of power per point, which is what we've spent 7 years now perfecting with the color, again, with the color mana system is just one of the paradigms, but just the mana system in general. Like, it's a really fucking piece of machinery that you can bend resources into working well. But like I can only do that because I've spent a colossal amount of time using it. So am I talking about myself too much? I'm starting to feel self-conscious. Hornetico, you sly dog, you get me monologuing very, very easily. Oh, hey, what's up? I will say your ship rules ability to scale and customize with weapons does feel more in depth than the dark matter rules, but you did have more time. Yeah, I mean that's it. There's two approaches. There's being able to iterate, to be able to punch out content at a fast rate that provides value to people, and then the other side of it, the other side of that coin is how long am I willing to take to make as solid of a piece as possible. And I'm very much on that, take as much time necessary to make it as bulletproof of a product as you can. While I don't know if this is Mage Hand Press's strategy or not, because I'm generally a fan of theirs. Most businesses can't, most businesses can't survive on that super long tail R&D to be able to produce the best product possible. Most people, most businesses and designers have the sensibility of this works, let's just get it out there so people can use it and we can move on to the next thing without hyperfixating on it. But like for me, hyperfixating is a feature. It's not a bug. Again, which is why you want to make all this stuff available for people to view while it's in the playtesting phase so that they can participate in its development instead of having just to wait for it. Or for it to come out of nowhere and for people just not to really be able to acknowledge what it is. Like the way that I found out about dark matter is through Wildjammer, because Wildjammer was a 5e, was a 2e Spelljammer conversion into 5e mechanics using Mage Hand Press's dark matter as its base template. It's a pay what you want thing that's fairly popular on Reddit, but I had never heard of it until I was already illustrating my book. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Hey, what's this dark matter thing? Oh, that's cool. Like I just had no idea about them. I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because I don't know how much that would have colored, pardon the pun, my approach to the work that I was doing. Because there's a lot of stuff out there. There's more stuff than one person can absorb in the RPG industry. So to that sense, I don't blame Matt Colville for not knowing a goddamn thing about what RPGs are out there and what other game mechanics actually exist and are popular. You can't know everything. You should at least have your finger on the pulse somewhat. I'm punching up again. I'll stop. Yeah, this gradient work that we're doing here is I needed to make sure I got the outline correct first. So when I started doing this gradient, God, that looks really good. I'm pretty pleased with this. It's good enough anyway. I think this emblem is stock art on DMsGuild that I could take for free. But I want to do it myself. Like this is a skill set that I'm developing, so it's worth it to me to again take the time to do it, develop the skills so I can become more flexible and be able to do more stuff in the future. An indie game prototype on Steam beckoned. Really? Holy shit, congratulations. Hi, Colonel. That is an accomplishment, kind sir. Right on, man. Yeah, I'm one of those guys. I do design work. I play test it as a DM. I do all the layouts, and I do the artwork, and I can do edits, but you don't edit your own work, right? You hire an editor. So you have somebody else. Here's the process. I write the thing, right? I develop the idea. I test it. It works. I then spend the time to crank out the language so it works in the game engine that you're using. In this case, it's 5e. So I'm using the 5e game engine to build these tools. After the play testing comes back good, we grind out the specifics on it, and by we, it's usually just me, but sometimes I hire a mechanical designer like Ukulele Bard with the Spelljammer stuff that we did, or Andy Headley, who was my co-writer for this Eberron adventure that we're illustrating right now. But yeah, once you get the coding locked down, that's when you send it off to the editor. And the editor helps make sure, what I use an editor for is to shit test myself, to make sure that, I understand what I'm doing, and to make sure that the document comes back with good grammar, good structure, proper punctuation, and if it's a good editor, that they understand the 5e game engine, making sure that the language I'm using is the language used for expressing mechanics in 5e. Once I get that back, that starts going into layouts. And once it gets into layouts, I have to restructure the information to fit on the pages. And that might mean like I have to trim off like 3 lines from this block of text. So then I go in as an editor of edited work. I wrote it, then it got edited, and when it comes back to you from an editor, it's basically a new book. And then once I start doing the layout, that's when I also have to put on my editor hat and say, how can I say this the same way with 3 lines less? And then that's when I edit it using the same formatting, like language, the same syntax and structure that the editor I hired to build that syntax and structure for me, so that I can iterate it as I edit and update inside of the layouts. And once the layouts are done and I know where my space is at in the illustration, in the page, that's when I start putting illustrations on the page. And once we do that, that page is done and we move on to the next page. So, and then like 100 pages later, we have a book, and then you move on. So, but that's the creative process that I go through, being able to wear multiple hats at the same time. So being able to do your own art and your own layout, and being able being good enough to get paid as an editor, and being able to actually do the design work, like the kit bashing of how the game engine works to be able to get the performance that you want out of it. It's a lot of hats, and most businesses are hiring multiple people to fill those roles. Often, 2 reasons. 1, most people can't do all of it anyway, so you have to hire outside help. And B, it helps collapse your time frames. The more people you have working on it, potentially the faster it can get done. But that also means there's more cooks in the kitchen, so there's more compromise that has to be made. So if you're willing to take the time and figure out how to do all the work yourself, you can have an uncompromised vision of what it is that you want to produce, and to be able to follow through on its execution to the point where it's like, this is exactly what I wanted it to be. That's the space that I'm in. So, which is why I want to which is why I stream so much of it, because I wear so many hats. It takes a long time to build them, but it's also like fully integrated, because like if a piece of art that I'm building for a page inspires me to make a change to the text, I can just go into the text, make the change, and then drop it back into Photoshop and keep going. So I have like, it's super liquid flexible. Very much to my benefit. Hey, what's up? Yeah, right on. Right trunk. It's super. That is so fucking accurate. Oh my god, yeah. Yeah. When I want to do like heavy new design work, I get completely lit and just start asking what if questions and see what absurdity I can stumble into. And so far, that's been an incredibly effective process for the past 7 years. God, I can't believe I've been doing this shit for 7 years. I'm glad I left my day job. Why hasn't my alarm gone off? Oh, because time's distorting on me. That's why. So we're going to be back later on today. We'll have I stream 10 times per week, Monday through Friday in the morning like this. I do layout and artwork for whatever my next project. Like my workbench has an assembly line of different projects. And whichever project is ready is going to be the next book that I publish. That becomes my forefront project that I work on Monday through Friday in the morning. Normally, at this point, we're doing art assets, which is what we're doing here with Eberron. And then I got the Tuesday, Friday lunch, including today, as well as the Monday and Thursday evening stream. And then I have my Sunday morning brunch stream where I do design work for second and tertiary projects, like the Color Mana system, the Martial Power system, the Spelljammer Mecha Kaiju expansion, Guilds, Kingdoms, and Armies, Guilds, and Kingdoms, ACFG, HIJK, yeah, Armies, Guilds, and Kingdoms, AGK. These are all secondary, tertiary, and quadrillary projects that I'm currently working on. But once this Eberron adventure completes, then one of those other books moves forward to my full-time project that I work on Monday through Friday in the morning, and then I'll have something else loaded in the back. So at lunch today, we'll work on the Spell Point Sorcerer that I've been picking at over the past year. And now that 2024 is out, its core mechanics are developed. So right now we're working on the meta magic costs and mechanics, and we have the 2024 subclasses to redefine. So that's what we'll be doing at lunch today, which will be at 1:30 Seattle time, which will be 4:30 East Coast time, which is about 6.5 hours from now. So we'll be back on for like maybe an hour or so. And then tomorrow we'll do we'll go through the Wizard Scaffold and update that for the Color Mana system. And we'll spend time, like I was saying, we'll spend time on the Beckme XP for 5e, using gold pieces as your experience points, like they did in Beckme, but in the 5e game model. So we're about 3 weeks away from playtesting Martial Powers again in a mega dungeon at 3rd level. So that's one of the things that I have to burn brain power on right now. So once that playtesting gets up and running, that'll basically keep the Martial Powers project busy until this publishes. And once this is published, then Martial Powers moves forward as my primary project. And by the time we finish playtesting level 10 in March, we should have all of the core mechanics in the book resolved. And at that point, we're just making tweaks to class features and the cost or effects of different powers. And then we'll be able to finalize the writing, kick it out to the editor like we've been talking about, wait for that to come back in. While we're waiting for it to come back from the editor, we do the book cover. Once it comes back from the editor and we have the book cover, we start doing the layouts. Once the layouts are done, since it's a Martial Powers book, it's just going to be a book full of weapons, combat, maneuvering, and like martial type characters. I'm really looking forward to doing the art in that book, because I love doing character portraits. I used to do that as like private commissions all the time, and until the market globalized and I couldn't compete with people in Miramar that only need like $1,000 a month to live, but could charge the same rates as I do. It's like maybe I should fucking move to Miramar. I don't think I wasn't thinking about it. But no, I like being an American too much, and I like Seattle too much. The cost of living is insane, but it's because I'm blind. I need the infrastructure of the public transportation system to get me from place to place. So Uber's just too fucking expensive, man. I'm going to take a bus, thanks. So you need to be in a city that has enough infrastructure to warrant mass transportation. But the only reason there's mass transportation because the system is so overrun with cars because of the metropolis that it has to have a mass transit system. So when you have mobility or vision disabilities, you're kind of stuck being in a heavily urbanized environment just to be able to get the amount of social support you need to function as a normal person. Anyway, that's a rant. But yeah, the point is that I love doing character art, and only when I do books like this can it potentially ever be profitable. So I love doing books like this, so I have the chance to do character art. Otherwise, I can't really justify spending the time on it because I don't do commissions anymore. It's just not profitable. Or rather, I'll say the people that are willing to pay the prices that I want for doing a commission are the type of people that want me to do artwork that I don't want to do. I mean, I'm not a furry fan, but some of the requests that I get from people that are willing to spend $300 on an illustration, it's not the kind of stuff that I want to spend time on stream illustrating, you know? And so it's like, well, I wouldn't be proud to show my mother this illustration, even though it's done well. I would not want this in my portfolio. So it's like I can't do that. So I have to say no. Like if it's something I wouldn't be proud to show off, it's not something I'm going to be doing. So I'm kind of stuffy conservative like that. There. Character art is yeah, I know, right? But ain't no freedom. Oh man, do we mix Final Fantasy IX mechanics with Super Punch, real-time elements with turn-based? Oh, that sounds really cool. Right on, man. This is on Steam. I gotta tell you, I have like zero time for video games myself, but I deeply respect the craft. Because like we essentially do the same thing. It's just my game engine is text-based versus, you know, controller in real time. Well, you're building a turn-based, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. I used to be a big Path of Exile and League of Legends fans. The three games that were my jam, basically since the year 2010. Was I will say Gauntlet Legends on the Xbox, Fable on the Xbox, Civilization 5. No, it was Civ 4. Yeah, it was Civ 4. Path of Exile and League of Legends. Like that's basically the and Dead or Alive 2 on the Xbox. So I was an Xbox boy. Never did FPS because my vision's not good enough to do first-person shooter stuff. It's just too difficult for me to see the targets. But fighting games are up close enough that I can perform in those, and I fucking love DOA. And my gal used to be a big fan of the DOA volleyball. So watching chicks play DOA volleyball is fun. I gotta say that if you're into chicks, because it's a shopping game for cute outfits to wear on little, you know, like little anime girls. That's what I would call quality. That was quality time with my gal, quote unquote. That was like what, 2000. God, that was like 2004, 2006. Days gone by, man. Days gone by. Fucking DOA volleyball. That is DOA Volleyball, by the way. The first DOA Volleyball has like the best fucking soundtrack. Seriously, go check out the DOA Volleyball OST. It is legit good. It's legit good beach music. I will happily, like, when I'm cleaning the house, I am happy to slap on the DOA soundtrack and just bippity boppity around while I'm doing dishes and shit. So fucking fun. Oh man, oh my god, Planescape Torment, get the fuck out of here. The cranium rats in that game fucking pissed me off so bad. I had such a hard time beating the goddamn cranium rats. Fucking, anyway. That was a good game. That was a legitimate good game. Like Radiant, Pools of Radiance, like all those SSI games in the 90s. I'm 50, so like I played those. I played all those old like the original Bard's Tale and the original Bard's Tale, Might and Magic, Ultima. All those super old PC RPG games were just insanely. My favorite actually was Legacy of the Ancients, which was it was a top-down world map, like a hex map system that you would move around and go to cities or dungeons. And then when you got into the dungeon, it would be a three-dimensional Bard's Tale, Minecraft scroller style, like 3D space. And then if you went into towns, they were a top-down view, but you could fight guards and shit. Oh, it was so much fun. Legacy of the Ancients was badass. You can actually see Let's Plays of it on YouTube. But that game, that was on the old Apple IIe. That game was my jam for like 2 years. Giggle physics. Jiggle physics, he means. God, yes, the jiggles are real. That game was so, but but legitimately, that was a really good combat game. It was a really fun. It was like Street Fighter 2, Hyper, and DOA 2 were my two favorite fighting games. I mean, I was a big I was a pretty big Samurai Showdown fan off of the Neo Geo, and the second one I didn't like nearly as much. And the original Killer Instincts, fucking loved the original Killer Instinct. That was a great game. God, there was, back in 95, I think, when that came out, there was stacks of coins. Just stacks of people playing that game. Did not get into Tekken. Could not get into, I didn't like the art style of Mortal Kombat, so I never really got into that one. But KI, DOA, Street Fighter Turbo, that was what it was. Street Fighter Turbo. Loved playing. I played so much Street Fighter in college, it was ridiculous. Fucking insane. So I liked the art style of Soul Calibur, but I could never really get into it. I don't know Power Stone. I don't know what that's referencing. Battle Arena to Shinden on the first PlayStation. Holy fuck. The second one, it's something about fighting games. The first ones only Street Fighter 2 was actually a better second fighting game than the original. But most fighting games just aren't as good. Like the second ones are rarely better than the first ones. But God, Battle Arena to Shinden on the PlayStation had the smoothest mechanics. It was so tight. It was so well built. Like the dodge mechanics were just to the pixel. It was perfect. Such a good game. The fighting the AI was only so, but like when you did battle royales with like friend rotation, Toshinden was just fucking top notch, man. God, what a game. What a fucking game. Forgot about that. Apparently I'm having nostalgia for breakfast. Thanks a lot. Yeah, oh god, it was so smooth. No, it's just that's okay. This is like the 300 and somethingth episode. So I'm here just honestly the reason so the reason I stream is because these projects are so big that I can get intimidated, and it creates procrastinate. Like if you get intimidated by a project, you procrastinate it because you don't know how to tackle it, right? So if I lock myself into a schedule of showing up every fucking day, I have to do progress reports. Like, here's where we're at in the project right now. Blah, blah, blah. Like, I treat these things like Kickstarters because I eventually want to do Kickstarters. So I try to frame it from like that update perspective. I show up to work every day. I get some fucking work done to guarantee that I push the ball down the field every day. And if I stream while I do it, it holds myself accountable to, like, from a Kickstarter perspective, it would be like the people that show up are most likely going to be people that would back the project, right? So it makes sense that I would have like this ongoing vlog diary of work in progress, and it gives me a chance to think through things and to show people where the process is at. So and artwork, you know this as a coder, artwork is just a lonely activity. Sculpting, painting, these visual, like these things where you're making something, they are by their very nature solo activities, which is very lonely work. But once you get to a point where you can do artwork and not have, like, I can talk and do artwork at the same time for the most part here. I get distracted, sure, but for the most part I can push pixels and have a conversation at the same time. So when I'm off screen and doing art, I'm listening to Pantera, Metallica, or Floyd, or Zeppelin, or Rush, or whatever, old school shit. But because it doesn't occupy my mental energy to do this. I just have to push the pixel because I'm trained to. I mean, I've put in like 15,000 hours of artwork over the years, so I've accumulated my hours to the point where it's all muscle memory, and it's only when I actually run into a problem that my brain slows down. It's like, what are you actually doing here? Pay attention. Like this joint in here is like absolutely fucking infuriating me, so I have to slow down a little bit and grind this out. But as soon as I move past this, yeah, I'll be able to open up space again, and now I'm running on autopilot, so I literally don't have to think. What's really fun about being able to autopilot on artwork like this is that if I let my muscle memory do the artwork for me, just like you, I am witnessing the art being created. Most of the time I have a vague idea of what I want to do, but I just leave it to the autonomic control to be able to produce it for me. I just put in the request, and the meat machine puts out the answer through the brush. So it's an incredibly meditative space for me, and it's fun to be able, the more I talk about stuff, sure, I get into tangents, I slow down occasionally, but the more I get into a tear, the more the machinery takes over the artwork for me. And so by the time I get done with a rant, I'm like, oh, I finished like an extra 2 or 3 things. We're pushing the ball down the pipe. So I get to talk about philosophy, game design, video games today apparently, or whatever is catching attention on stream. But I still get to push the pixels while I do it, and then I get to wake up occasionally and look at where we're at, and then I get to fall back asleep and keep talking. It's a flow state, and I get to basically, once I fall into once this excitement that you hear coming out of me, that's the flow state taking over, and it just becomes adrenaline and dopamine and oxytocin for me. Like, this is a complete chemical rush. But I mean, if you do artwork, you know that, right? Yeah. Oh no shit, that's awesome. Yeah, because you're talking to the people you're talking to, because let's be legit. I'm working a hustle right now, right? I'm working a hustle. You're starting to understand where I'm coming from, and I mean, not to be too transactional about it, but once people kind of get where you're jiving from and they resonate with you, you're kind of interested in what they're doing. It's like it's completely to an artist's benefit to get to a point where they can, talk smack and laugh and joke and talk with the people that they're working with. It's the like art and poetry, or like a theater, for instance, or performance art, right? Performance art, like musicians or dance or acting. Those are just as much of an art, and to an extent, because you're running a routine, it's also somewhat lonely. But those are far more often group activities where you're coordinating with other people, and these solo production pieces are rarely a collab. Like, I'm not collaborating with somebody on making this emerald claw, right? That's just not happening. And you know what? The more I'm into this, the less I'm liking these ratios. So I'm gonna finish doing this wreathing, and then I think I want to reassess the ratio of these fingers, because I don't think I like it. There. Preach. I feel like I got 3 minutes left on that clock. What is it? It's 7:30. Fuck yeah, dude. So we got 8 o'clock is when I have to bounce, and it's 7:30 here in Seattle right now. So I got 3 minutes left on my current clock, and then my timer will pop and it will give me another 20. I got a timer that rolls 20 minutes. 20 minutes is typically the amount of time that I'll take in any particular tangent or a rant. And by the time when the timer pops, it's a chance for me to like reorient, and like, am I down a rabbit hole that's not being productive? Do I need to bail on whatever it is that I'm doing, or have I hyper fixated on this finger too long? If my alarm goes off, there's a decent chance that I'm hyper fixating on something. So let's extract ourselves from here and reassess where I need to be right now. So it's a way for me to keep myself centered, and just to keep track of how much time I've spent on stream. So, because I'm not watching my clock really, so I have the clock watching me instead. But I can put in a good 2 hours in the morning, Monday through Friday, and then I've got the 3 hours on Saturday that I stream, and then at lunchtime todays and on Tuesdays I have about an hour and a half ish. And then Mondays and Thursday nights, I go anywhere from 1.5 to 3 hours typically. It's depending on what the workload is. Like yesterday, I was on for about 90 minutes because that's all the time that I needed to spend to get Druid figured out, or the base chassis of Druid figured out for 5e, and rant about ideas for a while, and then that's a good natural stopping point. Let's just bail for the day. So I did. There, that feels good. I think if I extend these down like this, I think that'll give me more of the elongation that I think that I'm looking for. I mean, it's obviously wider than the other one. It's just not the same. And I know there's a stock art I could just steal off of DMsGuild and use it, but it's, when I provide credits, I generally like to have my name the only name on credits for artwork, just because I'm selfish like that. I don't know if I ever build this out into like if I ever build a studio out of this, how I'm going to handle recruiting other artists. There's a lot of control I'm going to have to give up, and I don't know how ready I am to do that. So luckily, no one's asking me to, but it is something I am mindful of. Okay, so that's a good base. Let's take these two things. Let's duplicate these layers. Let's merge them together. We'll drop those out of view. So now we have a single layer, and we can get back. I'm gonna go back and readdress this proportion because it doesn't feel good. I'm not happy with where that's at now. So I think I'm going to use distort. I'm going to use the warping tool. There's my timer. Thank you, Timely Timer. you. Like that. We're going to warp. There we go. This feels off, though. It feels better. Like that. Thanks. I'm not trying to like completely do, like I said, if I wanted to have this exactly, I could just go fetch it off of DMsGuild for free, but I'm just trying to, there's skills here I can acquire. This is just being able to like get the gist of how this works. That's my challenge today, to make this look unique, to look like what it's supposed to look like while being in my own style and uniqueness, but feeling like it's right, you know? If that makes any fucking sense. Let's do this. Put some dollops off to the side. There. Like that. I see text. Hold on. Let me get this curve. Raster, blaster, rules, Photoshop. No vector. No vector, no. It said I was mad to teach a llama how to drive. No, llama, no. I like trains. The power of silhouettes in an attic. God, yes, man. God, yes. Some of my favorite artwork is just building off of an. Well, here's the wolf that I did. Building off of the negative space. Like these are all erased lines, and then I have this green is a wash underneath the black, and then I have the black faded so some of the red comes through. I'm still working on it, but I'm pretty fucking happy with how that's sitting. And like all these characters, they start off as silhouettes. And then I color in the details inside of the silhouettes. So if I get the detail, so like, yeah, exactly. Like if the silhouette is strong, then all the interior stuff that you build inside of it. That's a really fun way to do art. Is to work with that silhouette and then detail in from the outside edges inward. It really helps to be able to focus like where you want your detail at, where you can pull the eye from. Totally recommend silhouette work. Absolutely. This is a fun piece. These are all separate illustrations of different character tokens that I assembled into like into a compilation as a representation of the local villagers. So Anyway, yeah. Very much. Yes. Because if your silhouette is strong, your composition is strong, like you're saying. It's like, yeah, it always starts. It starts with your silhouette, because that defines the space and the proportions and your negative versus positive space. And then once you have that defined, then you do that same iterative process further and further into the interior of what that silhouette is. It's a really good way to structure compositions. And that's like I was talking a couple days ago about sub skills, like skill subsets, and like that's a really strong sub skill, is being able to work on strong silhouettes to build compositional design in your work. That feels really good. Yeah, that's officially close enough now that I'm happy with it. So good silhouette, good standing, good there. I'm going to smooth out this this outline transition. We had to merge the layers anyway to get this blend effect ultimately. So I worked with the silhouette, and then I had a separate layer for the interior burn, and then I merged them together so that I could use a blending tool, a smudge tool, to blend them together more efficiently. There, just clean it up. Little more thickness there. There we go. Meticulous bullshit hours of operation, but the end result is just it's like not that I would have any perspective on this, but I think the analogy is something like labor, like giving birth. Like, you fucking hate the process, but when you're done with it, you just forget about how painful it was, and you're just happy with the end result. Art's the same way. This is the closest thing that man can get to creating like a woman, is art. Like Sarah Connor said, I will never feel a child growing within me, but I can feel artwork grow, and that's going to have to be good enough. Now I kind of want to watch Sarah Connor Chronicles again. I haven't watched that, I think, since it actually came out originally on Fox. Was it Fox that put that out? God, Sarah Connor Chronicles was so fucking good. Summer Glau as a Terminator is just fucking awesome. And that chick that chick from Game of Thrones that played Sarah Connor, that was, I can't remember her name. I never can. She was, oh god, I saw Beacon 23. That's a really fucking great show. Same chick. I can't remember the actress's name, the British gal. God, Sarah Connor Chronicles was so goddamn good. I think it's on Netflix. I think I'm watching Travelers again now, which was a Netflix original show. And if you haven't seen Travelers, I'm a huge time travel nut. I love time travel shows, movies, whatever. And Traveler is all about people from the future coming back into the past to try to save the world. Pretty common trope, but it's actually they have to override. They have to overwrite the personality of somebody in the past. It's the only way a traveler can come here is by overriding someone, basically killing someone's mind and their personality and taking it over, and then operating in that person's body. And Chrono Trigger, yeah, right on. I've never played Chrono Trigger. That was outside of my. I know everyone loves that game and that it has really good recommendations to it. I have not spent the time on it. Maybe I'll listen to a Let's Play. The way that I have my screen set up here, right? It's a 32-inch monitor. So this strip over here, where I'm at in this text bar, that's a good 5 inches. So like when I'm doing artwork, what I can do is I can pull in the frame of my Photoshop here and like extend it over on the right hand side. But I can create basically like a 10 by 30 inch space here that I can have a movie streaming or something. Like a lot of times I like watch chess techniques and stuff over on the sideboard, or like Aliens, or another movie that I've watched a billion times that I don't have to really think about. It's just like flashing lights and I know where it's at in the movie. So I can just run on autopilot like this and have things streaming over here on the side. I don't think I know an artist that doesn't like have like a movie or like a podcast or something streaming while they're doing artwork. I just woke up. What were we talking about? I don't remember what we were talking about. Oh, Sarah Connor Chronicles. Yeah, I'm gonna make that next on my list. So once I get done with Travelers, I think I'll go back into that. I've been watching Penguin. That's a pretty good show. I'm concerned it's becoming the Mrs. Falcone show, and that the Penguin was just a vehicle to get there. But as long as Colin Farrell comes back into the mix as the center point again this next episode, then I'll be content. It's a good show though, and I legitimately like all the characters. It's a well-built show. DC does good TV. Like DC does TV like Marvel does movies, man. Although Jessica Jones was pretty good. I did enjoy that. All these streaming shows have gone back to playing only releasing one episode a week. I hate that because I love to binge on the weekends because I don't do any work on Sunday. Sunday is binge with friends days, and it's like getting chores done and going to barbecues and Netflix and chill, and all the social things that a boy could want to do. Is what I do on my Sunday. And binging TV shows is one of the things, or like having a bad movie weekend. These are the type of things that I like to do on my Sundays. So, in that sense, I'm sad that the shows that I like to watch are all going back to the episodic, really, like Netflix and all these streaming services are going back to weekly releases because they want the frequency of commercials. Now that they're getting revenue off of commercials, they want you to keep coming back into the mill at a regular basis by basically, parsing out the content on a week-by-week basis. I don't think they get as much money or nearly as much audience retention if they punch out an entire series and you binge it and then you go away. Like people will subscribe to binge something and then they'll cancel their subscription once the binge is over. So if a streaming service is smart, they have enough good TV shows lined up that as one is winding down for the season, another one is already launched. So you're just feeding from one show to the next. And so you have a reason to keep your subscription active 12 months out of the year. But the problem is that not many of these streaming services are putting out content at a consistent enough basis in a genre to keep one person, like if you're into rom-coms, like how much rom-com is being produced? Are you really going to lock down a subscription to Hulu for your rom-com options? Like if that's what you're there for, you're gonna walk away. Like there needs to be enough content in any particular genre to be able to retain those fans in your mill. And I think that streaming services have overinvested themselves in production to be able to put out good content. The problem, it used to be like X-Files would have 25 episodes, like Supernatural, 25 episodes per season. Once per week, that's half a year. And then it would go into reruns for people that didn't catch the first episodes. Like you have to wait 6 months to catch the rerun so you can see it again. And now that streaming services are dumping too much money into production value, an 8-show series that lasts like a month or two, that doesn't have enough retention, that you forget like fucking everything that happened. Like this, hey, it's been 18 months since we've had a new season of The Boys. What was going on exactly? Because I don't fucking remember. Do I have to now go back and watch the last season all over again? That annoys me. They need less demand for profit is what it is. It's the shitification of everything for. Oops, I think my computer just locked up. I'm gonna hit save right now while I can. Okay, cool. Sometimes my Photoshop and OBS doesn't play nicely together with my graphics card, and it causes Photoshop to lock. I can still save when it happens, but I have to shut it down and launch it again. And I know this happens because when I toggle my tools, if the tool doesn't change, it means Photoshop is locked. So occasionally I have to just twitch my tools to see if they're still working or not. I feel like I'm neglecting text. Creepy as it sounds, I rebinged Boy Meets World. Oh my god, Boy Meets World was such a good show. Perfectly fair. And I did not expect Home Improvements to jump into this conversation. Ted Allen's pretty good. I would say the absolute favorite thing I ever saw Ted Allen do, that's his name, right? Ted Allen, was Galaxy Quest. I will agree with the cultists and say that Galaxy Quest is by far the best Star Trek movie next to Wrath of Khan. God, I love Galaxy Quest. Is it Tim Allen? Tim Allen. Oh, no kidding. Shut up, Vinci. Fucking great movie. Yeah, I will. If Galaxy Quest appears on just one, like on Movie Stub or whatever, if it's playing somewhere, I just immediately stop and watch it, just to give it the homage. I can flesh this out a little bit more. Yeah, I'm back on working on silhouettes again. How about that? We got about a minute left. Yeah. Looking pretty good. That's legit not bad. So let's drop, and there's my square. This square up here, I have a 1/2 inch border on the top and on the sides, and then it's a 3/4 inch down here. And so this square is 150. I use a 300 pixel DPI when I paint. So this is a 150 by 150 box. So this shows me the size and position of the 1/2 inch margin. So like I can take this and I can drag it around, and you see the wolf moon is just within spec. And across here, like this forest line doesn't hit the edge. So I use little boxes like this as a meter mark to make sure I'm sitting inside a frame. And so far everything's sitting pretty nicely. All right, I'm going to turn off my alarm. It is 7:52. I'm going to drop that out of the way. I'm going to press save. Okay, so here we are. I'm liking the use of this negative space here to drop the claw into here. Honestly, what we need to do is we need to start figuring out the border filigree. And I have not invested time on that right now. I wanted to work on this. Just felt like a good piece to work on, and so it kind of grabbed my attention. So I decided to dive into it. But I'm not happy with this background smudgery stuff that's going on right now. I think the next thing I need to do is I'm gonna finish the veins and stuff on the back of this claw. But I need to figure out the filigree that we're going to have on all the pages. And then I need to figure out how am I going to work this haze in the background. Because I like that redness, because red wolves. And then the red is a good contrast against the green of the silver claw, of the emerald claw. I like that. But I want to have a more interactive or interesting background instead of just a haze. So this is just the first page illustration that we've done. So we're working our way through it. Maybe, yeah, I could go with a texture, a rough texture. It's I'm wondering if there's some sort of, I don't know. I feel like there's something there. I haven't sussed it out yet, but we'll get there. We'll figure it out. So I'm gonna hit save there real quick. I'm going to crack open the actual document, just because I'm winding down. Basically, this is my like 5-minute debrief. So yeah, it's a little bit too dense. So here's the full document, and we're currently working on this. Oops. Yeah, this is the page that we're currently working on, the factions. And I had just, there. That's 12, so that's where that's supposed to be. I'm going to drop this down to there. And now I'm going to take this, push that down, and here, there. I'm pushing these down so that the pixels line up, and I can do that. I use Microsoft Word for my page layouts. It's I got the program free through my place of work, so I was like, well, I have this free resource, I may as well use it. And then I got really good at using it, and I didn't want to give it up. So let's do that there. So there's our portions. This is a 17-inch wide, 10-inch tall paper. If when I'm done with this, I can just have this as a black and white version. I could potentially do a printer-friendly version to add to the zip file for download. But it's the 17 by 10-inch space is basically a 16 by 9 ratio, which is the ratio we use for our phones, tablets, and our desktops now. Everything uses a 16 by 9 ratio. So this page is designed to fit inside of that space. So if you're DMing, you can while you're DMing, you can take your tablet, there it is. You can take your 16 by 9 tablet and load it onto the screen, and it fills the screen. And the fun thing is that width-wise and the horizontal alignment, it's 16 by 9. But each column is 5.5 inches by 17. 5.5 inches wide by 10 inches tall, which is a 6 by 9 ratio when you hold it vertically. So if you want to look at the full page at once, you can do so. You can twist it, and it'll just spin to have a horizontal alignment, and it'll automatically snap to the page. And then if I turn it vertically, it'll automatically snap. It doesn't change, but it can zoom in. So I can have one column on screen at a time. And the entire book is written so that each column is a separate, complete thought. Sometimes a thought will spill into a second column, but it's a natural break in the conversation. Like you can see here, starting the adventure, we're talking about being deputized and the story lore. And then we have the goals, the bonus resources that your character gets for the adventure, and the rewards that you get, and then additional options inside of the adventure. And then we have, this is a work in progress still here. But like if we go down to, this is an area I'm still working on, and I'll have this completed this weekend. But like, yeah, here we go. We get into the Carnwood Forest. So we have travel time, we have resting, we have daytime wandering encounters, and then we get into here. We have a planned encounter of NPCs stuck in a tree that you can help. So here's a quick description and flavor text. And then here's your DM information, how, like, what conflict occurs here. And then over here, once the characters have rescued the characters from the tree, if they interrogate them, here's the information that they get with them based on the DC that they roll if they're Intuit or like interrogation check. And then here I have optional encounters, camping overnight. Here's nighttime wandering encounters, and here's the map that would coincide with it. Here's the map that would coincide with the stuck in the tree encounter. The carnivorous foliage. This is like evil plants dropping from trees. So this will be a smaller tree map. And then we have, and most of these maps are done already. I just haven't integrated them into the document yet. And we have an undead pack. So here's a forest map where undead are attacking you. Or you could use that same map when you run across the Red Wolf militia mercenary patrol. And here I can just drop in an environment illustration. So I have map, and then here it can be an illustration of the Carnwood. And then down here, I can have a separate splash page, I could do some Bob Ross painting of forests here to give you a better visual representation, like what is the Carnwood like. So I get to mix up the visual elements here, and I love doing Bob Ross painting. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. And we're still working on Into the Mist, but like we have a map of like the gatehouse here, the cemetery is here. And then the flooded fortress is here. So when we put the map in here, these different talking points are coinciding with that. But you can see each of these blocks of text are isolated into their own columns. Even though the artwork might spill across multiple columns, you can look at the map and the artwork and stuff at the full display. And then if you want to zoom in, like this is 12-point font. So it's pretty easy to read this shit. But if you needed to zoom, like if you have horrible vision like I do, you can zoom in on it and have an easy read. So I've never done this 16:9 ratio before, but I'm absolutely fucking obsessed with it right now. So happy flame hands. Towards the right. Hold on. You're saying something that sounds valuable. Just an idea suggesting take a brush texture or patterns, single click it mark as an eraser on the upper left corner background haze. It will guide the eye like a wave, low to high on the right, towards the right, ramping attention in the info. Lots of, oh, I see what you're saying. Like take this and like disintegrate this, like break it out so it becomes less and less texture up here. And so there's more, and so the color and the density guides your eye down into the text and pushes your eye across the way. I agree with you. That's why I want to get the filigree and the border figured out. Yeah. That's why I want to get the border figured out here, because once I know what the filigree artwork looks like, I'll know, like, for the negative space that we were talking about, like that like erasing all that upper edge stuff, that'll make a lot more sense. And then, yeah, I can push this background in, and I feel like there's some sort of a texture that's going to happen here. I can feel it, but I don't see it yet. I can feel it. Anyway, yeah, I'm geeking out a little bit, just showing off my shit. So, we got a lot of work. We still got a lot of work to do, but it's getting there. It is getting there. By November, I think by November 10th, I should be done with the layouts, which is coincidentally when I plan on starting the playtesting for the martial powers. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna stop geeking out now. and we're done. I'm going to be back at 1:30. That is, oh shit, it's 8:02. I got to get the fuck out of here. 5.5 hours. I'll be back working on Spell Point Sorcerers. So, thanks a lot for hanging out, Zaid. And Colonel was up here for a while, and Hornetico, always a thrill to have you around, my guys. Yeah, I'll see you guys later, and I'll be back tomorrow morning as well. So, later, my guy.